Hi guys, how are
Hi,
you?
Rachel.
Hi, Rachel from the Mary Sue.
Rachel, you look so much like my cousin.
Surprised it's me actually.
You
I'm
look like a cousin of mine, actually. Wow.
Oh my God, I love it. Uh,
Yeah.
to start, I have to ask, imagine that not only being in these sets that look like Miami back in the 70s and 80s, but like these costumes probably get you guys really in the mindset of what it was like back then. How did all of those elements really help you in crafting your characters and their emotions when
Well,
it's
look, there's different ways of approaching the character. You can go from the outside. I'm sorry to get into actor
I
technical
was a
speak.
theater major. I
All
love
right.
it.
Well, you can approach a character from the outside in or from the inside out, right? Usually, when you're doing dramas and specifically ones that are grounded in reality, you tend to work from the inside out. But the outside guise of this is very, very important. And as you pointed out, the set design and the costumes and like just Zulio's mustache and things like that really lit up the characters for me personally. This guy with his wardrobe and his platform shoes and all of that. I think it was incredible, and it really did. Listen, I'm a child of the '70s, so it
Mhm.
did transport me back to that time, and so many different memories. My first childhood trips, my first vacation was to Miami, when I was 6 years old. And we even shot in the Dominican Republic, which looks much more like Miami circa 1978 than Miami does now. We couldn't do it there now
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's blown up into such a metropolis.
It was the perfect place to film it. But Michael's reminding me when I was a child growing up in New York, we'd go to Miami Beach for Christmas
Mhm.
break to see my
Yeah.
grandparents at Southgate Towers, Baruch and Gene Siegel. And we'd go to Fuddruckers and have a sandwich. And little
Oh
did I
my God,
know,
we were there at the
yeah,
same time.
yeah. And little did I
Crazy.
know, a mile away in the Dade County Mall, people were getting shot in the middle of the street in the middle of the day because of the cocaine trade.
Right.
So it was like this crazy juxtaposition. And I'm so thrilled that I get to be in the show to learn about the other half of Miami at that time, which was very dark, but also very fun because the Mutiny Club is a blast.
Yeah, it is. And Michael, like you get to play a DEA agent, which I like. We have been seeing a rise in them with like the Narcos franchise, but it is like you're playing it like as a guy that is very much in the midst of all of this, and he's talking to everything. Like he's talking to everyone as it's going down. How do you approach like it's not lighter, but it is like a more like it's a different kind of drama this show is than something like Narcos, which
Well,
most of us are used to.
as Mark pointed out, there's this juxtaposition of
Yeah.
worlds, right? And the thing is, the mutiny was sort of this neutral ground that none of the busts happened there because partly because everyone was having such a friggin' good time, right? But you have this veneer of this hedonistic fun, sex, drugs, and disco and death, right?
Mhm.
So you have the again, the vapid sort of fun life of the Studio 54 kind of life. Whereas with Narcos, it really just focuses
Yeah.
primarily and solely on the darkness and the cartels and the drug part of it. But this also deals with this guy Roman Comte, who is an immigrant who's just trying to make it in America. So it's the immigrant story as well. The guy that's trying to survive in the best way that he knows how, but he's being thrust in between the rock and the hard place of law enforcement and the drug cartel that his brother runs. So it becomes completely very complex and makes for great drama. And
I mean, he really would have walked the straight and narrow,
yeah,
following the American dream, if he'd never run into this guy
yeah,
who threatened him
ironically.
with taking his daughter
Yeah.
away if he doesn't help him and go undercover for his brother, who's the largest coke dealer in Miami.
And I'm law enforcement, right? So in that, so it really does make for some great storytelling. And Chris Broncato's put together a great weave with Michael Payne's, and and you got characters like Mark's, which is just this incredible. I've never seen a character like it. Really, frankly, I'm trying to think of.
Hanging out with Rick James.
Like, well, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I'm trying to
By the way, that's such a great aspect of the show you're talking about, because Chris Brancato has really fomented this genre of historical fiction. And we get to visit this world, like in Godfather of Harlem, you get to see Bumpy Johnson hanging out with Muhammad Ali. And in our show, I get to meet Rick James, Hunter S. Thompson, and the Maharishi. And we get to imagine that one of Rick James's famous hit songs, which I won't reveal here, was based on this Super Freak. Super freaker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to think of an equivalence of your character to anyone I've ever seen in cinema, and I can't. You know, and go with me here.
Sure.
One movie does come to mind, you know, well, and it's not Scarface. The movie that comes to mind in terms of tone and tenor, believe it or not, is A Clockwork Orange. In terms of the trippiness and the darkly comedic turns of it,
Right.
and the simpatico, and you want to love these people, but it's so
That's so crazy
fucked
that
up.
you said that, because there was
Pardon my
a
French.
stage direction where I was supposed to be dressed in a costume as Malcolm McDowell in A Clockwork Orange.
It's so funny.
It's in the DNA.
It's
You're
in the
feeling
DNA
it.
of it, you
Yeah.
know. And I grew up in the 70s, so you know, it harkens some of these things from the back of your brain, you know, like wow, you know, it's trippy and wild, and again, there's the reality and the grounding of it, of the death and destruction that it causes and leaves in its wake. But I think that it was sort of part and parcel of that time period, that we were disillusioned as a country, and we were coming out of Vietnam and everything, and people were focusing on themselves and becoming disillusioned and drug addled and everything. So it's all in there. It's all sort of baked in this cake. And I think that it's at number one, it's very, very entertaining, but you're also going to be forced to think and feel.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Thank you guys so much for talking with me today. I really appreciate it. And I
Thanks,
can't
Cheers.
Rachel. Great to talk to
Thanks,
you
cuz.
at the Mary Jane.